You're listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Podzine, dated Monday the 26th of November 2007.
It's a podcast. It's a magazine. No, it's a podzine.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Podzine on this morning, the Monday the 26th of November 2007. Well, we've got a fair amount to get on with in the show this week, and of course the show, as always, is an audio magazine show for outdoors listeners everywhere. We've tried to have a bit of a mix of interviews, some news, reviews, and so on. We've got plenty to get through on this show, and of course we're always welcoming information from people who would like to have that information passed on, such as diary information for clubs and get-togethers and socials and that sort of thing. So please, if you do have anything, do drop us a line to info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. Or you could, of course, leave us a message on our telephone line service. We do have a message service, and that number is...
Call our voicemail service now, 020 8133 9434.
And we will happily take a message from you on that number and play it in the show if you've got some information you want to share with people. Right, well, talking about the show, let's get on with it. There's plenty going on this week. We've got a couple of interviews. We have a chat with Ian from Expedition Foods. Expedition Foods, obviously very well known to all of us in the outdoors as being one of the most reliable sources of quality food. And we have a chat with him about what goes into it and organising and recipes and that sort of stuff. We also speak to Lillian Sullivan, the distributors of Aku boots, and we discuss what is proving to be the most popular from the trade's point of view regarding advance orders for the 2008 season. But first, let us have a little bit of trade gossip and news and so on. Yes, now, let's tell you a bit more information about what's been going on this week. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that Woodland Organics, who were the distributors of various products in the UK, had ceased to trade. And one of the products they used to distribute was the Hennessy hammock. Now, just to recap, I've spoken with Hennessy over in the States, and they have stock available in the UK, which they ship from within the UK. So if you order a Hennessy hammock direct from them in the US, it actually gets shipped from the UK, so that's worthwhile knowing that you can still get hold of those. Now, another company products range that they used to distribute were things called meal gear, which were like a plastic sort of fork and knife type thing, a long-handled job that was designed really to go with jet boil and other deep pots, so you could get the food and stir it and so on. And they also distributed another product called Firefly, and these were really nifty little lighting units that screwed onto the standard thread of an Nalgene pot and turned your Nalgene pot into a glowing lantern for nighttime activities. Well, both products were designed by a company called Mogo in the US, and they've folded now. They've apparently stopped trading and are now designing cappuccino machines. So they're obviously a design-based company, but they've got so far with the outdoor products. And I understand the story goes along the lines of once it took off, they then had to commit to container loads worth of gear, and of course that takes a lot of money. Talking of which, another product is the Pack Light, a little 9-volt twin LED lamp that was superb, that fits onto a standard PP7, is it? PP9. They did a little 9-volt battery, which is very, very useful. I've got a couple of them, and I keep them one in the car and one virtually in one jacket pocket all the time, particularly during the winter months. And it's a very powerful little lamp, lasts forever on a 9-volt battery, and the actual lamp unit is tiny. You know, it's sort of a centimetre deep, and very simple. Switch on, off, 2 lamps, and it glows in the dark. Well, the company that produces that is also in the US, and apparently they're ceasing to distribute it in the UK because all items in the UK, the electrical items, have to have this, I think it's called a MEW a WE certificate, a WE initiative, cradle to the grave and all this sort of testing and so on, and they've decided it isn't worth the investment in getting the paperwork done to sell such a small item. So if you're looking for some of those for Christmas, that's the meal gear, a Firefly light or one of the Packlight 9-volt lamps, and you see one available, then don't hesitate to buy it. They're great, all great products. It's just sad to say that economics or bureaucracy tends to stop these things. Now, talking of which, about bureaucracy and economics, have you heard about this? News that came out last week, so I thought I'd just repeat it, because I think it's possibly something that's going to affect us without realising it, and if you want to object, you need to object soon. Passengers on domestic flights and ferries between mainland Britain and Northern Ireland will be required to carry identity papers for the first time from the new year. The move will effectively establish a highly controversial internal border within the UK and could pave the way for identity checks on all domestic flights and ferries in Britain. So that's ferries as well as flights. Under the new system, personal information given by a passenger when purchasing a ticket will be checked on police computers looking for possible suspects. Travellers will also be required to produce a valid passport or driving licence to buy a ticket. The system is similar to that already in place to check those travelling to and from Britain on international flights, and allows intelligence services to profile suspects looking for patterns of criminal behaviour. I go on holiday a lot, therefore I am a criminal. And what about the people that don't have a passport, or too young, or because it's UK, you don't have a passport? Anyway, the Home Office last night confirmed the measures would be introduced next year using so-called statutory instrument signed off by the Home Secretary Jackie Smith without the need of a full debate in the Commons. The government said the move will enforce powers including the Police and Justice Act 2006, which allows officers to monitor all flights and voyages starting in the UK. Tony Bunyan of Civil Liberties organisation State Watch said the government is using the fear of terrorism to build up an apparatus for far-ranging social control that allows them to build up a complete picture of our lives. Former Europe Minister Keith Vaz, chairman of the Common Home Affairs Select Committee, which is carrying out an inquiry into the Surveillance Society, last night said he would raise the issue with ministers next week. He said, "This is a civil liberties issue and it needs to be debated fully in Parliament." Well, I don't know how you feel about that. I'm certainly rather peeved about that, to say the least. Certainly that means that any trip you take will need some sort of ID, and obviously past that point, then does this mean that in future we will need an exit certificate or an exit voucher to be allowed to leave the country or leave the shores? It opens a whole can of worms, that one. And in the past, of course, terrorism with the IRA has been something of an issue, and they have been able to get over here and do various things to bandsmen or whatever, and none of this was brought in then. So why that they need that now, I have no idea. Another thing which has come up, again coming back to civil liberties and so on, is did you hear about the Vodafone link and the Vodafone deal with TomTom? Well, I've been speaking to a friend of mine here in Kinetic, who are the research establishment, government research establishment, and he's been telling me some of the technical details behind this technology. Apparently Vodafone now can triangulate any Vodafone SIM card within 20 metres, and they're doing this by linking it with TomTom, so that when you are driving along and you've got your phone switched on and your TomTom switched on, it will be able to pass information to your TomTom to say that there's a traffic problem. However, of course, it also pinpoints your every movement, every single moment of the day when you've got your phone switched on. Again, yeah, technology working for us, but sometimes do you really want that if you want freedom of movement? And apparently they had to switch on very, very little technology to do this. They've always been able to obviously know which cell you're working in, but now it's just a case of triangulating your position within with 3 cells. And talking of cells, have you heard about pico cells? Now, Pico cells in the mobile phone world have been designed to do a low power transmission receiver in an area where a full cell can't get the signal. Say, for example, a shopping centre, or even a very large warehouse type shop which is surrounded in metal. Like, for example, PC World. I walked into PC World the other day, and as soon as I walked in, ping, off went my phone. There was a mobile message in there saying, "Welcome to PC World." I thought, that's a bit intrusive. How do they do that then? Anyway, my contact tells me it's called a Pico cell, and basically a deal, what deal we don't know, has been struck by PC World and Vodafone, or the mobile phone networks, and they basically, should we say, they don't piggyback, they become part of a chain of data between you and the outside world, which of course means when you make a phone call inside PC World, or you send a text message inside PC World, we don't know whether PC World are getting a share of the phone service. We also don't know if they're recording the information, whether verbally or electronically, as regards what number has been transmitting and receiving. And of course, if your phone call goes along the lines of, well, don't buy one of those, I've already got a copy here you can have, whether that information gets passed on. So Big Brother is well and truly watching us through our toys, and as we all now are sort of starting to work towards GPS-based systems and TomToms and so on, which work in conjunction with our mobile phones, we're also transmitting a lot of information as well as receiving it. Anyway, so that's me off my my box this week. I thought I would share some of that news with you, a bit of information there. So let's actually get into our first interview with, where are we? Ian Williams from Expedition Foods. Now, Expedition Foods makes a massive range of foods, which I'm sure we've all enjoyed in some form or other on the hills. And I started off by asking him which food actually was his favourite.
Porridge with strawberries. I do love porridge with strawberries because it's a meal you can eat any time of the day. Where if you take one of the curries, the chicken korma, which is probably our most popular meal, I don't think I'd want a chicken korma for breakfast.
No, it's an acquired taste, isn't it?
They're very nice, but it's
for breakfast.
It's a bit too spicy for breakfast.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, give me some background of the company then, because I've seen the name Expedition Foods for several years. I've seen that you have a range of different foods which appear to be coming from different countries, and obviously there's a wide range actually on the menu. But the actual company itself, tell me how you started.
Well, I used to run an outward bound type centre, outdoor education, and we took expeditions abroad every summer for about a month at a time. The biggest problem was getting quality food to survive on for a month. And as a result of that, I started to research the market. And then unfortunately in '94, when the Boundary Commission made my authority defunct, the new unitary authorities could not afford to run the centre. Right. So I was given two options, take a handshake or move back into mainstream education. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity to develop the food. No one specialised in food, so that's what I did.
So '94, there was nobody else doing this type of thing at all?
No one specialising it. There were other sellers of expedition food together with anoraks and boots, but they didn't specialise in it. BCB was one of the forerunners, who I suppose specialised in it. Mm-hmm. You know, they actually produced it. But that was dried product, not the freeze-dried, which is the new technology, which makes the difference. Okay, well, let's actually sort of fast forward to now then, and have a look at the range of foods that you've got. I am correct in saying that they do come from different parts of the world? Yes, the dried food, which is cooked in the pan, comes from Germany. It's one of the best companies who manufacture that type of product. Ideal for sailors and people who want to dine as a group, because you can come in single and double portion. You can have a pan between you and share it.
Right.
But if you want an individual meal, then the freeze-dried in-the-bag meal is far the better. It weighs roughly 150 grams and is half the weight of the retort pouch they boil in the bags, and has at least 4 times the energy.
Okay, and these orange ones here, now you're saying this is the new range, the food's actually made in the UK?
Produced in the UK, yes. We looked We looked at bringing a new brand in which give the energy that the customers have been asking for, at least 700 kilocalories per meal. They didn't want any artificial additives, all these nasty E numbers. There are some good E numbers, but there are some which are purely preservatives. They didn't want aspartame, which is a sweetener, which has got a bad report, particularly for females. No hydrogenated vegetable fats, which are not good for your blood system. So we've done away with all of that and researched new products to meet modern man.
Okay, and I suppose the other thing to be aware of this day and age is obviously people have allergies to things, nut allergies and so on.
Yes. Well, the manufacturer for most of this 700 range is a nut-free factory. So there are no nuts at all, no chance of nuts getting into any of the products. Our muesli is made in a different factory, so we don't have that problem.
The UK-produced Expedition 700 range hasn't been going that long, I understand.
No, we introduced it earlier this year for trials, and then effectively it came fully online around July. Because all of those, I add water to the bag. No washing up, very easy. Low energy requirement. All you do is boil water. Warm water is sufficient, so very little fuel. Clean pans, much more convenient for the backpacker.
An adventure racer, I suppose, and people doing those sort of expeditions.
Yes. All those activities.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are you still going to keep the three different ranges going from the different countries?
We'll keep the three ranges going because the customer, different customers have different requirements. Some customers want the atmosphere of being in a tent, sitting around a stove and cooking together. Particularly those who are going to Arctic conditions, because being in a tent together is very good for morale. And they sometimes take that, although the majority now are going for the in-the-bag meals, much more convenient.
Is there a significant taste difference between the ranges?
Yes. If you have chili con carne in your house and you go to a neighbour's house and have a chili con carne and go to a restaurant and have a chili con carne, they will all be different. And similarly with our meals. If we have a chili con carne from Trekking Malsheiden, a chili con carne from Real Termat from Norway, or the chili con carne from our 700 range, they will all be slightly different.
So it's a case of find the right one for your palate.
That's the reason we have the greater choice. So the customer has at least 80 options to choose from.
Now, talking about the customers, I've seen there's some pictures on display here of some very, very dramatic places and adventure racing. It looks like somebody doing the Marathon des Sables there and some Arctic conditions. When you pack these out to people, do you know who's using it and where they're going? Oh,
yes. In fact, that lady we're looking at on the screen now, she won the Atacama race. She was a doctor living in East Yorkshire, used our food for many years with her husband, and this year she won the Atacama race.
And what about the Arctic people? Do they take a lot of packs with them?
We supply a lot of, we've just shipped off 5 pallets of food to Chile, to Punta Arenas, ready for expeditions going to the South Pole. We have 2 lined up for the North Pole later on in the year.
And those sort of customers, did they ever come to you with sort of strange requests as regards food mixtures or sort of menus to suit their energy requirements as well as their taste requirements when they're out there?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is why the 700-800 range developed, because originally we supplied them with the Norwegian meals, which had around 600 calories, and they asked for a meal and a half. Could we pack a meal and a half? Well, on our particular process, it wasn't feasible. So we developed the larger meals.
Oh, I see. One question I'd love to ask you actually is how do you go about designing a meal? So you obviously approached a company in the UK to make these for you, but did you sort of sit down with them and work through the nation's favourite meals to come up with the widest choice?
We did that, and we also had feedback from customers who say, do you do this and do you do that? Okay. Spicy foods are on the ascendancy. In the early days it was steak, veg and potato, or beef and potato, but now it's kormas, curries, all kinds of foods that are going to enliven you at the end of a hard day.
Much more of an exotic mix.
Yes, oh definitely. I mean, that's been reflected even in the military meals now.
Really?
Yes. I mean, the traditional suet pudding meals have all gone, and now it's all the oriental meals because of the young soldier. the young soldier is used to eating out at the curry house. So when he's out, in Afghanistan or Iraq, he wants his curry house.
Brought to him in a bag.
Brought to him in a bag.
Well, thanks very much for that. Looking across, I can certainly see a lot of things I recognise. Spaghetti bolognese, chili con carne, as you say, cereals and curries and Chinese meals and so on. But surely there must be some unusual items that you have in the catalogue.
Yes, I mean, we had a request from the BBC many years ago who were doing a reenactment up in the Arctic. And they said, can you supply us with some pemmican? And I searched all over for pemmican, couldn't find it.
And what is pemmican?
Pemmican is basically fat. Fat with ground meat, herbs and spices added to it.
Okay, and how was it used years ago?
It was put... The old-fashioned butter barrels used to fill barrels with fat and all these spices, and of course it would be quite solid, like dripping.
I mean, and you'd heat it like dripping? Would
No, you just take a spoon out and add it to a meal.
Oh, okay.
Or you could chew it and eat it as it is.
Okay, it doesn't sound at all appealing.
No, it doesn't, but surprisingly enough, when you're at sub-zero temperatures and you need a lot of energy, it makes a big difference to the diet.
Yeah. So you managed to find some?
Not straight away. We found a company in Norway, not in Norway, in Denmark, because apparently a lot of pemmican was made in Denmark. And they said, yes, we will send you a sample. So this sample came across, and I opened the box and said, pemmican, ideal for your sledge dog. So that wasn't quite appropriate. It was very fishy, that one. And a company we were dealing with in Germany, we asked them for the same problem, and they actually went out and got someone to manufacture it for us.
Brilliant. So you've now got that in the range?
So that's in the range now, pemmican, yes.
Wow.
Mainly sub-zero, because it's containing 60% fat. For temperate climates, it's not very user-friendly.
No. And is it proving to be popular?
Oh, yes. Oh, we sell a lot of this to Arctic expeditions.
Gosh, and what else have you got there?
Another product which is very interesting is the beef jerky. Traditionally, historically, it's probably an Indian derivative where they would dry meats to carry across the continent.
Yes, and Africa, of course, as well. Yeah.
And Africa, yes, biltong in South Africa, yes, similar thing. Beauty of this, high in protein, it has salts as well, so, it's nice to chew on as you're walking along.
And it's made in the UK again?
No, this one comes from Scotland.
Wonderful.
One of the problems with this is that when you open the bag, you've got to eat it. Yes, and it's quite dangerous in that point of view, that literally when you open it and you eat a piece, then you need another piece, and another piece, and another piece. Yes, can't leave it alone.
It's very Moorish.
Yes. We supply lots of boats who are rowing across the Atlantic. And one of the questions they asked me was, if I'm seasick, how can I get some food if I'm being constantly sick? Well, there's a product on the market called Peronin, which was developed from hospital food for people who had stomach problems. And 90% of the food element is absorbed that way. It's mixed into like a milkshake. Okay. And again, this is very popular not for people who are going to be seasick, but for people who are travelling and they want to be constantly eating by drink rather than stopping for a meal.
Right, I understand, yeah.
Very high energy, full of nutrients.
Brilliant, excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing how the nation's menu is reflected in your range, because it's obviously developed over the last few years, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next.
We have one or two things in the pipeline, particularly for the vegetarian market. Currently, we've only got vegetarian tikka in the new range, and we're looking for a couple of new menu ideas to develop there.
This machine will have eyes, ears.
The Podzine.
Well, thanks very much, Ian, for filling us in about Expedition Food that I'm sure we will be enjoying on the hills for many years to come. Now, talking about enjoying things while out on the hills, many regular listeners will know that I'm fortunate to be surrounded by women, 2 daughters and a lovely wife. And obviously there are times where we go out together, and a translation of which direction we're going in or what we're discussing on the day can sometimes get lost between the male and female counterpart. Now, I've had some words sent in to me describing to help really with the translation point of view. review, and it's been written by a woman, and I've shown it to the girls, and they've all agreed that it is a fairly accurate translation document. So I thought it'd be useful this week to quickly run through these 9 words that women use and their translations, and then, in the interest of fairness, I think I'll have some definitions for guys next week. So 9 words women use whilst out. Just women use, full stop, really. Now, this is one where perhaps you've been on the hills, you're on the hills with somebody, and you're discussing which direction to go in, and she perhaps doesn't agree with you, and so she uses the word fine. And this is the word women use to end an argument when they are right and you need to shut up. Now, the other one is perhaps a little bit more domestic. You're on the campsite and you want to get going, but she's not quite ready, and so you ask her, going to be long, and she says 5 minutes. Now, if she's getting dressed, this means half an hour. Because 5 minutes is the same 5 minutes that she once gave you when you wanted 5 minutes to watch the game before helping around the house. The third one is of course, there's obviously something afoot, but they're not telling you what it is, so you ask them and they say nothing, and this is the calm before the storm. This usually means something, and you should be on your toes. Arguments that begin with nothing usually end in fine. This is quite a good one. Again, you're perhaps discussing directions of which way to go, and again there's a disagreement, and so she says, go ahead. This is a dare, not permission. It's not advisable to do it. The fifth one is actually, it's a loud sigh. It sounds a bit like... Sounds a bit like that. And this is actually a word. It's a non-verbal statement, much misunderstood by men. A loud sigh means she thinks you're an idiot, and she wonders why she's wasting her time standing here and arguing with you about nothing. Refer back to number 3, the meaning of nothing. That's okay. How are you? Do you need any help? No, that's okay. This is one of the most dangerous statements a woman can make to a man. That's okay means she wants to think long and hard about it before deciding how and when you will pay for your mistake. The unusual one is number 7. Thanks. A woman is thanking you. Do not question it, or faint. Please don't faint. Just say, you're welcome. Number 8. Whatever. Yes, we hear this one quite often, don't we? That is a woman's way of saying, stuff you, or words to that effect. And number 9, finally, is, don't worry about it, I've got it. Another dangerous statement, meaning this is something that a woman has told a man to do several times, but she's doing it for herself. This will later result in a man's asking what's wrong, for the woman to respond, as in number 3, nothing. And this is the calm before the storm. Anyway, I just thought I'd drop that in very quickly as a bit of a useful tip for people out on the hills with ladies of members of the opposite sex. And of course, I'll be dropping in a return visit, as it were, for a guy's translation in next week's programme. And over to our next interview with Lillian Sullivan from Ardblair Sports Importers. They import Aku boots, amongst other things. And I caught up with her at a trade show recently where she was particularly pleased with the response that the new forthcoming 2008 range had been receiving from retailers.
The most popular for us has probably been the new crampon compatible boot, which comes in, it's for a flexible crampon, a walking crampon, so B1 compatible. It's the new Utah Micro Light. It's been missing from our range. We haven't really had a proper B1 boot before, so this really has been in response to a demand from us for this boot. Our customers have been asking us for it, so this one has come in. It's a nice looking boot, and we've had great uptake on it for spring summer.
So what are the key features that make a boot like that popular then?
Well, it's using the IMS technology, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's where some of the padding is taken from the outsole, the bit under your foot, and put on top of the hard flex plate that gives you the stiffening. So it's over on top of that plate to give you cushioning inside the boot. So as soon as you stand in the boot, it feels really, really comfortable.
Right, okay. And are all the boots using that technology now?
Not all of them, but quite a lot of them. I'd say that most of the range now have IMS technology. Not all of them, but certainly the majority of them now. Another feature that's in this new Util Micro is we've done some work on our existing asymmetric technology, which you find in the Zenith, and improved it. So we've given it a conventional double gusset opening at the top, but when you actually put the boot on and close it, the tongue fits just down onto the outside of the foot, leaving the whole of the inside totally clean. So it's a one-piece leather upper, and the tongue just fits down over the outside of the foot where you've room for it.
So you don't get that sort of rippling effect and laces moving the tongue around and making it uncomfortable.
Exactly. And where people tend to have more fitting problems down the inside, it keeps it clean. There's nothing on the inside here to rub. There's nothing to come out of place. It just sits beautifully against the foot and supports the foot very well.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, and I see there's some sort of new sort of laser-designed finishes on some of these boots.
Yeah, we have a new range called the Sutera, and within that there are 4 different models. So the boots look very similar, but there are different flexes, different fabrics to give 4 different models within the range. And we have a one-piece full-grain leather version, the Sutera leather, and that has a laser pattern on the outside just to give it some cosmetic appeal and make, it a little bit more interesting.
It stands off. It stands out very, very clearly, doesn't it?
Yeah. And these have, again, the IMS technology, and they're very, very generous fit. People tend to make the mistake of thinking Italian boots are narrow. Italian boots are not always narrow. We use 14 different lasts within the range. We go up to a double E fitting. The difference is we are a medium profile. We're not a very deep boot. So we are wide, but the depth is medium. It tends to fit the British foot very, very well. So the leather version has been reasonably popular, but the one that's been getting everybody's attention has been the injected model.
Now, I have to say, I'm glad you picked that one up, because I don't know why, but on the 20 or 30 boots we've got in front of us here, that's the one that stands out to me as looking, I'd like to try a pair of those on.
Yeah, they're really sexy looking.
They are.
And the technology here has come down from the Spider boot, which is our top mountaineering boot, where we're using a heat injection overlay. This is not glued. People mustn't think this is just sort of stuck on the outside. It's heat injected. It goes right into the fabric. There's no way this is going to peel off and come undone. But what it does give you is, if you like, a really nice fit that supports around the foot in a very lightweight manner that doesn't impede the breathability of the boot.
And it's a Gore-Tex lined boot, but it is very light, isn't it?
It's extremely light, and because it uses our Air 8000 technology, it's also incredibly breathable. This does not impede the breathability of the Gore-Tex membrane, so the feet stay cool.
And so, what was the name of that product again, so people can look out for it?
This is the Sutera, which is Suitera, not a very English term, but the Sutera injected.
And what's the retail price on that?
Retail price on that, about 125, 130.
Very reasonable price boot?
Yes, very reasonable, and a nice, fairly soft flex, so it's good for sort of most medium terrain.
Moving on to the approach shoes and trail shoes, I gather there's some new products coming through here?
Yes, I think probably the most exciting for us is the Ariba, which is somewhere between a running shoe and a trail shoe. It's not really a trail running shoe per se, but it fits anybody who wants to move quickly in the mountains. It is a properly supported shoe, but it's very light. It's got good flex in the forefoot, so you can move very easily in it. It's got a very, very sticky Vibram sole with a climbing zone, so if you do come across any rocks and you need to scramble a little bit, you can do that as well. And it looks good.
Yeah. Do you find when you do a show like this and you sort of the trade come along and get a view of what's coming next year, it sort of reinforces the idea of the design is going the right way?
Yes, we work very closely with some of our retailers. Even before we ever bring the product to the market, we get feedback from them. And I think in the past, Aku has actually suffered from the fact that we're often if you like, a year or 18 months ahead of the popular market. We've always been very, very lightweight, and the market's only just catching up to the fact that you don't need big, heavy boots. You can get good support from very lightweight products these days. But it is Italian, so from the Italian point of view, it has to look good too.
Fair play to the Italians. A final question, of course, is where can people find out more information of who's actually stocking this range of footwear?
Well, the best way is to contact our head office on 01250 873 863, and they'll be given stockists in their area.
If you've got any news or events you'd like us to cover on the Podzine, then contact us at The Outdoor Station. The address is info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
Bringing you more about the outdoors world. Call our voicemail service now. 020 8133 9434.
My thanks to my guests, Ian Williams and Lillian Sullivan, for taking part in the show and giving us the information regarding Expedition Foods and Aku Boots. Now, we didn't have a diary section, but we did have a little bit of humour there that was sent in by somebody. And I've forgotten to mention our competitions. We do have a great competition again this week, just like we did have last week. And talking of last week's competition, it was to win one of 12 calendars supplied by Colin Pryor. Thank you very much indeed, Colin, for contributing that way, and also for your interesting interview as well. Now, the question for the competition last week to win a calendar, and it's one of a set of 12 calendars out of the hat, was to answer the question the answer of which was on his website. And the question was, complete the sentence from the shifting ice sheets of Greenland to the oxygen-starved where? And the answers came flooding in of the Atacama Desert. And we've had a pile of entries, and I have now going to just press the button on the old machine and, just get the result. Oh, here it is. And the 12 winners of a wonderful Colin Pryor calendar, 2008 calendar, are in no particular order. We have Gwyn Williams from Usk, Kate Gulliver from Birmingham, Mike Instance from Cumbria, Gillian Smith from West Yorkshire, John Clark from Shropshire, it keeps coming, Duncan MacLeod from Aberdeen, Bob Martin from Milton Keynes, Charles Leonard from Wimbledon, John Hesp from I Need to Know Where You Are, John, and Mark Southey from, it's a business address, WebSense, wherever they are. Who else we got here? Two more. Jim Cassidy from Adrie, and Steve Underdown from East Sussex. Congratulations, all 12 of you there, and those calendars will be going out to you first thing this week, so you should have them by the end of the week in time to stick them up on the wall and start making your preparations for 2008. Right, now let's have a look at the competition this week. Well, some time ago I spoke to Wayne Eady from Innovate. Lovely chap, all about the new products of the rucksack range he was bringing out and various things. Well, he sent me a goodie bag, and I've got it here. Oh, hang on, just dropped it. Right, well, I have got an Innovate goodie bag, and so the competition prize this week is a pair of Innovate Coolmax socks, a pair of Innovate footliners for Innovate shoes, a pair of the new Innovate Debris sock, which is the one with the built-in gaiter, and a Innovate rucksack, one of the new ones with the horizontal hydration pouch that goes across your back, and it is the 18-litre one, I think, that's right, the Race Pro 18, which is a £45 super lightweight rucksack, which he described in the interview back at Bellingham earlier on this year. So you've got a zip pocket at the top, waterproof zip, main compartment, big front mesh pocket for clothes or whatever, and your cycle helmet, and two very generous hip belt pockets, a hydration unit that comes obviously up the the shoulder harness and lots of reflective strips on. So it's a brand spanking new 18-litre adventure racing rucksack. So that's got to be a good, first the rucksack's 45 quid. It's about 55, 60 pounds worth of goodies. And so what is the question going to be? Right, okay, right. The question is, he says, hunting around his screen at the moment, trying to work out what it was. Okay, Innovate sponsor a range of races, and they did do for 2007. Can you tell me, please, what the event was they sponsored in November 2007? And send your entry to innovate-competition@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. So that's INVO, sorry, I'll get that right, INOV and number 8 competition@theoutdoorstation.co.uk, and drop that in. I shall pop you into the hat, and the computer will pull you out in a week's time, and you will have a lovely new rucksack and a bag of Innovate goodies, courtesy of Wayne Eady and Innovate, in time for Christmas. So that pretty well wraps the show up this week. I think we've covered most things. I'm going to try and keep doing this over the Christmas period, and just keep people informed and a bit informed. Perhaps I have some new MP3 players to play these podcasts on. Please pass the message on to other people about the shows and the programmes, and in particular pass them on to retailers as well, if you would, for in-store entertainment. And that's about it. I'll see you same time next week. Have a good week now. Bye.
This independent programme has been brought to you by The Outdoors Station, the exciting new way to see and hear free information about the outdoors world. If you're a blogger, or if you have a website, you can now incorporate any of these podcasts directly to your site, completely free. Visit our website, theoutdoorstation.co.uk, for more information.